In this video, I'm going to attempt to upgrade the throttle assembly and the switchgear on the right-hand side of the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Let's crack on and have a look at the kit. So here it is, it's two units. We've got the throttle tube and the throttle assembly itself and the switchgear too. So this is both from a company called Domino, Italian company. And as you can see here, standalone switchgear, start, kill, nice and simple. And then the throttle, this is actually a race throttle. So it may be slightly overkill for this bike, but the reason I've gone for this is it's just really nice, easy to adjust it, and I like the fact that we're going to have two separate units rather than the big chunk of plastic that we've currently got on the Enfield. So let's see if we can go through a step-by-step process to getting this on the bike. I think we'll start with the switch because I hate electronics the most, so let's get that out of the way, and then we'll see about how we're going to get this throttle on here as well. And this is what we're replacing. This is the throttle, obviously on the right hand side. Big, very generic plastic chunky switchgear. Everything's inside here, including all the electronic connections for the switchgear plus the throttle housing as well. So the very first thing to do, I think, is to test that this thing actually works and to find out exactly what cables do what. I've read this very rubbish schematic that it comes with, so I've got a basic idea, but we want to test our theory here. So I've got a couple of little test leads. We're just testing resistance here to see what's making a connection and what's not. So now I believe that white and black and orange are the starter switch. And you can see that we're still reading an open circuit here. Yeah, so you see when we press the starter switch, it is indeed orange and white and black. So I believe that the kill switch has two separate ways of doing things. So you've got yellow and black and a blue, and then you've got a blue and a black. And I think these basically just work the opposite way around, so that it's either running when pressed in or shut off when pressed in, or the opposite way around. I think the ones we want are blue and black. So again, let's just test that. So you can see we've got resistance there, and that's with the button up. So that's in its kind of running mode. So we've got a connection there, and it should shut off, which it does when we activate the kill switch. So with the headlights out of the way, you can see here, this is the actual switchgear plug. And looking at the Royal Enfield diagram, it looks like the blue and orange here are for the starter switch, and the red and white, it just says red on the diagrams, red and brown, I believe, are the kill switch. So we need to make up another one of these 9-pin plugs. So now I've started to remove the original lead that goes from the switch into the headlight assembly. The reason I want to do this is just want to get an idea of the length of this cable, because I'm going to need to cut the Domino cable back significantly. There's not much space in the headlight. So there you go. I might give it just a little bit of extra, so maybe about here. I bet you there's a tool out there for doing this. There you go. So we're just going to trim the ends back up off these. Okay, so what I've done now is I've trimmed back the sleeve slightly, and I've prepared all the wires. So these two are just blanked off with some heat shrinks. We're not going to use those. And we've got the female plugs ready to go inside the female connector, which is going to then connect into the harness. So looking at the harness itself, we want to get the starter wires, which are the black and white and orange wires, into pins 4 and 7. So looking front on, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on the back, basically these two. like that. And then the kill switch is actually these two here, so we can go ahead and we can also wire in this one and this one. So now for the big moment of truth, just make sure that all your pins are in the right way, so we're not just going to put out the plug. There is a particular way they go in so they don't come out. Let's get this connected up just to test it for now. Here we go. Come on. Yes. And will this work? Looks good to me. So now we've just got to get it ready to go on the bars, but we're going to do the throttle now as well. So with the throttle kit, we actually have a universal kit here. So this is a 22mm throttle tube. We'll get into what these different pulleys do in a sec. But it also comes with a universal throttle cable kit as well, which gives you a bunch of different options for how you're going to connect this to the kind of carburetor side. It's an actual carburetor. And then you've got the cables in there and the outer cable tubing as well. Now on the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, you see this is a standard cable setup here from the throttle side. The cables actually usually route behind the forks, but I've had to route them in front of the forks. Well, behind the forks if you're the rider, just because these risers and these bars are slightly longer, so I ran out of cable length there, so we might be able to correct that while we're here. And you can see that they run under the tank. So we can just get those loose there, and then they go straight into the throttle body there. So the next thing to investigate is what's going on behind here to see what elements of the universal kit are going to be most appropriate. Okay, so as you can see, we have these two bends that come up here. Right, so let's see what we've got in the pack that might replicate that. So I just found these two, which they're not exactly the same. Just drop the nut down there, and that enables that to come off like that. All right, let's get this off. So everything just undoes with two screws here. This whole thing should just slide off. There it is. Probably just keep that together as a complete unit now. Put that in the parts bin. So the next thing we need to do is just get the little throttle tubes assembled into the housing here. So these just slot in here like this. That goes on like that. And they're secure in there. Then there's a little screw that comes pre-Loctited, if that's even a word. Yeah, nice and tight. We still have flexibility to move these about at the moment. So the next thing we want to do is just thread in throttle cables, the actual inner cables themselves. They should go in nice and easy. And you see that's now sticking out the other end, ready for trimming in the final stages. So let's just get it roughly placed onto the bike for now. Just like that. And this won't be final, but we'll just clip it back together for now, just so it's all held together. Okay, so the other important thing to do at this stage is just make sure that all the cables have got about 4mm or so of adjustment available. So It's about halfway, because when you cut your cables, you want to make sure that you've still got some adjustment to tighten things up on both the bar side and also on the throttle body side itself. So there you go, and that should probably do it. So I've decided to go ahead and use these kind of non-bent little guides. I guess that's not the word for them, but anyway, they've got quite a lot of adjustability on them. I quite like that, and the cable is capable of kind of bending here. So now we just need to make sure everything's kind of set to the center in terms of its slack. Give it a little bit of slack, and then we're just going to mark where this lines up with a bit of red paint. Just a little guide. Just there, that is where we're going to make the cut. Should be able to cut this straight off. And 1, 2, 3, boom, nice and sharp. Okay, so now have a little brass barrel that goes on the end. Just want to thread that through. I don't know if you can see this, that just threads onto the end there. Easiest way to do this is with a couple of pairs of pliers. So yeah, I definitely will go over this with a bit of solder just to make sure it's 100% on. You start to feel the cables compressing in there. Let's get that in there like that. Nice bit of slack on there. Beautiful. Just a little bit of slack, which we can tighten off. So let's now just go ahead and hook the barrel in place for the return. Nicely lubed up, real nice snap to it. And on the throttle side here, really nice movement there. It's a much shorter turn to get full throttle, so it's going to be a bit more sensitive. So you've got a nice tick over. So we're just going to put this back on here now. We want to turn it through the full range of steering and make sure we don't hear any change in the idle. So that's that. That's just to confirm that through the full range of steering movements, there's no binding or anything like that. So I'm happy with that. I think everything's in a good place. Obviously then just check your switches to make sure that there's no collisions with the brake master cylinder. There's obviously a good amount of clearance there, so that's good. Just need to get the grips on now. So there you have it, the Domino starter switch and the Domino throttle. Looking good.